Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest unboxing here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. As you can see, I've got an older item in front of me, something that came out months ago, but as I have mentioned, higher dollar single figure items just got pushed to the side. There was so much regular release stuff coming out that specialty stuff like this Duke or some Super 7 figures just had to wait. Unfortunately, I had a birthday recently, and my family loaded me up with a lot of this stuff that just had to wait. So we are taking a look at Mezco's 112 Collective Duke. Very excited about this one. This is this may be the final figure in this line. I don't know how Mezco's doing right now. I don't know what their future plans are, but this is the last figure. The other figures have come out, and there are a couple that I don't have, like variants. Like there's a Snake Eyes version that I didn't get because I just didn't need another one. But I've got each character, I guess, that Mezco has released. And this is it. There aren't any more on the horizon as far as I know. Which, you know, it's a compact line. If we're done, we're done. But my expectation is, as somebody who has collected a lot of Mezco 112 collective figures over the years, my expectation is that this is going to be the nicest Duke action figure I ever own. A definitive version. I like the box art. I like how neon-y his green looks. Like it really is bright and stands out. Back of the box, we've got the multitude of accessories that are included. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and get down to business. I did open this up the other day just to take a peek and make sure it was a figure, because it did come from Amazon. And like once I got it out, because all of these, this is the first Mezco figure, I think, that I have gotten from somewhere other than Big Bad or Mezco themselves. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, what if somebody, like, returned this and there's just, like, a brick inside? I've got instructions, which I appreciate very much. And I'm going to go ahead and just real quick make mental notes of all of this, because I know as I get excited and get into the figure itself, I'm going to completely forget to look at the instructions. But this seems relatively simple. Mud puddle splash. That is such a strange decision for an accessory. I'm baffled as to why that's in here. Okay. Let's get down to business. As with all 112 collective releases, there are 3 trays, or I guess multiple trays. They don't all necessarily have 3, but there are multiple trays for all of the accessories, the figure, everything else. It is a very classy, involving process to unbox a Mezco 112 collective figure. And I have saved, it is the one line, I take that back. Currently, I do still have all of my Sideshow collectibles boxes. I've got a ton of the 1/12 scale Sideshow figures from different lines, and I have saved those boxes. And I do currently still have all of my 112 collective boxes. So they come with the best stands in the business. I will not be using the support action stand, whatever you want to call it. They come with Mylar bags for storage of the accessories. I don't use those either, because anything that I don't use stays in the box. I think that's what it is just the multitude of accessories is the main reason why I keep these boxes, because I don't want them just in a bag. So these armatures that are included with the stands are the most solid, tight armatures. I have figures that have been suspended. Like the way that this works, if you haven't seen this before, you've got a typical base with the peg on it, but you can pop that peg out, which is varying degrees of difficult from figure to figure. Oh, usually it just pops right out from underneath. Well, then I'm not going to bother. But you want to put, you can't pull it that way, and you'll potentially scratch up the finish on the stand. So you want to get something to push that little foot peg through, and then this plugs into that spot. If you need somebody jumping, flying, whatever the case may be, suspended in some way. I have figures that have been suspended for 10 years now? I can't remember exactly when 112 Collective launched, but I've got that Dark Knight Batman. I've several of the figures have been held up by these armatures for years on my shelf. It's incredible. I am probably not going to use this, but I'll put it to the side because we'll definitely take a look at it later. And I will use the stand. Which, those stands, you can see, that's a pretty shallow peg, but they work. It's surprising. I always have to figure out my workspace when I'm dealing with a 112 Collective figure, because there's so much more to the unboxing than there normally is. Let's see, let's do that. There we go. We're going to focus on the figure now. This is the main event tray, as it were. So I'm more excited about this figure than I was. And look, if it had been anybody other than Duke, I don't know if I would have been as comfortable delaying, but I just thought to myself, if I don't end up with a Duke, I don't end up with a Duke. What are you going to do? Because he's not, Duke is nowhere near one of my favorite Joe characters. I am a Duke guy. I like him as the field commander. Like, I'm not one of those anti-Duke people. But I feel like they overly complicated his web gear situation. But I'm definitely not anti-Duke. Like, I like Duke. But compared to, Firefly, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Destro, he's just not as visually exciting. Although this one, this looks really cool. And also Duke's recent sort of reincarnation in the Energon universe has made him awesome. Duke is awesome. Now, if you're not reading Energon universe, you should be. We'll take a closer look at the base figure in a minute. I just want to get all the accessories out of here. This is the Mud Puddle Splash, which it is, I think, the weirdest 112 accessory ever. I'm not going to be using that. It's going right back in the box. Got the backpack here. I'm just going to get everything out, and we'll take a closer look at it. Oh, I love this. The canteen says G.I. Joe. Holy cow. All right. Let me just set this to the side, and we'll take a look at the figure. All right, so here is the default portrait. And this is one of the things that Mezco carries off almost flawlessly. He's obviously making sort of a tough guy face. And the idea with the 112 Collective stuff is it's sort of an amalgamation of the best versions of the characters. So this is a Mezco Duke. This is not any specific version of Duke. It's just the Mezco designers looked at everything they could look at related to this character, and we're like, this is the Duke we're going to make. It's not Sunbow, it's not Marvel, it's not Retaliation, it's not it's none of that. It's just Mezco's vision of this is the coolest Duke we could release. Which is why his shirt, it's a little more yellowish. It's not khaki. Oh, I'm kind of surprised at a fixed accessory in his belt like that. Usually that would be a separate removable piece. That's interesting. There is just too much going on with this web gear. I don't know what this is designed off of, but it's a lot. But you can see, I mean, for soft goods, this is one of the reasons I love this line so much, is I am a fan of soft goods, but only when they're executed well. And that's what Mezco does. You can see slots back here for accessories. And the articulation is, I mean, these are some of the best articulated figures you're going to get. However, there's a swivel up here. The hip has full range, like really anything a human can do. The problem with every single Mezco 112 collected figure is the ankles just are not very good. They don't have much range, and this is an area where they decided we need the aesthetics. The aesthetics are more important than the functionality. Now, this is way more range than this line used to have, but it's still, you're just not, I mean, you're not going to get anybody squatting down or anything. But look at the detail of that boot, the tread. You can see the size of that peg hole. That's why they're, despite being so shallow, that's why their pegs work. The only problem I've ever had with the articulation of a 112 figure is while I was reviewing a Punisher figure, which I don't remember which one. Look at the detail, the vein right there on that forearm. The arm, when I went to move the arm, it just popped right off, and it was underneath his suit. So there was just no way to fix it. And they sent me a replacement. They sent me a replacement body. So you can see, I mean, this is a very versatile figure. You do have to adjust the soft goods, you know, as you pose the figure and move it around. That's just part of it. But I am surprised, and maybe I'm just not looking in the right places, but I'm surprised that I don't see more figure photography using these figures, because the scale, the detail, everything about them, I truly believe that 112 Collective is the greatest action figure line of all time. It can be, it's a lot, and as somebody who has made lots of statements about not needing as many accessories as modern figures come with, I know that sounds crazy, but to me, these are the true, you know, NECA has their ultimates, Super 7 has their ultimates, but to me, these are the true ultimate action figures. There is nothing on the market higher quality than these. I mean, look at this this pouch on his web gear is functional. We're going to put something in there. Once we get into the accessories, something goes in there. Look at the stitching. I mean, for the scale, it's unbelievable what they're able to do with this tiny detail. All right. And here's the problem with this, is I'm not going to be able to get that back into place. Probably need to bust my tweezers out to slide that back home. But I'll wait until I get whatever accessory goes in there. Okay, so there is the figure. I mean, look at that portrait. I just love it. It's great. So now we've got alternate portraits to look at. And this is where the decision is made as to what you want this figure to look like. You've got Action Duke, which is probably what I'm going to go with. You know, oh, what is that? He looks like a young, looks like a young, what's his name from Karate Kid? Kreese. A little bit. He would have made an interesting Duke back in the day. Never thought of that casting before. So I'm probably going to use this head because we do not have a Duke that looks like, we do have terrible O-Face Duke from the 25th, but this is different. I mean, this is a quality portrait. And then I love that there are usually acknowledgments, nods, tributes, whatever you want to call them, to other form factors. And we have Smilin' Duke. Although this looks a little evil. He looks a little like sinister there. I'm definitely not using that head. But it's because I don't need another Smilin' Duke. I don't know, maybe I'll use the neutral one. Huh, I'm not sure. So I'm not pulling all of the hands out, but there are C-grips, trigger finger hands, hands specifically molded to deal with certain accessories, salute / karate hands, open relaxed hand, pointing finger, like every hand you might need. This Duke has it. It's got binoculars. Look at that detail. How great is that? Those may or may not store somewhere on the figure. They don't hang around his neck, though. I'll tell you that for sure. Great looking tactical helmet. Probably not. It's very indoor looking. I doubt I'll display him with the helmet. Like, it looks great. And look at the battle damage detail on it. But now it's just like kind of not Duke anymore. So yeah, I'm not going to be using that. I don't think I've ever... Whoa! What the heck? Oh, interesting. So they're little pads that I'm sure were not supposed to come out to keep the helmet nice and snug on his head. But yeah, that popped right off. So I wonder if this maybe didn't get produced quite right and those pads were a last minute solution. I don't know, but I won't be using the helmet, so whatever. And then that canteen that I mentioned before that says G.I. Joe on it. I love that. I think that's great. But where does it go? And it doesn't seem to have a home on the figure. We'll look at that more closely because as we get through these accessories, there may be more storage places for these things. And then last element of the main tray is the backpack with the bedroll. There we go. We've got some straps on here where we can potentially store some stuff. Now that doesn't... Does that... Oh, it does. Look at this. That opens up. And it looks like... it's designed for things to specifically store in there. It says elastics on backpack allow. Oh, there's actually a look at this. There's a hinge concealed. I mean, it's not really concealed, but it's very low key. But there's a hinge right there, so you're not stressing the plastic when you open up the backpack. It looks like it's maybe for the shovel. We'll take a look at that once we get to it. And those peg right back into place. The bedroll which I'm hesitant to remove, but I guess I should. But those little straps are actually functional. Oh, I don't want to take that out. It's going to be such a pain to get it back in nicely. Actually, I'm not sure I can get it out because I don't know if I can loosen these straps. I should have brought the tweezers. I'm going to do it. I got to do it. It's a review, right? Must be done. We've got to see what this little fabric piece looks like. And as I suspected, not the most satisfactory bedroll. I'm probably never going to get this rolled back up correctly and back into those straps. But now we know, and knowing is what? That's right, half the battle. All right, I'm just going to leave this to the side. Well, actually, I'm going to put it on Duke. I'm going to leave this to the side because nobody needs to sit here watching me struggle with figuring out how to get that bedroll back into place. So the backpack works like a backpack. And I may or may not use it on him. This is part of the appeal, but also part of the, I don't know if frustration is the right word, but you know, you get one piece into place and then you got to figure out, oh, now I've got to move everything else back. You know, I complain about Classified having too much little stuff that moves around. Although once you get a 112 figure geared up, you're pretty much done. I'll probably leave the backpack on him just because it looks cool. And I mean, the original Duke came with a backpack. All right, so there's that. And keep in mind these are actually elastic straps, so we can put some stuff in there. Put him to the side and move on now to, I don't think I'm going to use the yelling head. I think I'm just going to keep that default head. He's going to look tough. All right, just put that over there. And now the next tray that has all the little tiny doodads. Just waiting to explode off of the workbench. As you can see, lots of little things. So I'm going to put Duke up here. I'm going to put these off to the side. And we're going to do a little zoom. Primary blaster. Gosh, this is cool. I like the scoring. This is a serious piece of equipment. It does not. Okay, so that. Look at that shell. It does not have any other moving parts. This is a big boy. So does this. Oh, okay. This is. Oh, how cool is this? Look at that. I don't think of him as using I suppose this would be a grenade launcher. But this is too cool. All right. There is that tactical shovel that folds up like that. And yeah, I do believe I'm correct. And that'll slide into that backpack. Look at that one serrated edge. The metallic paint on it looks great. But if we want to keep that traditional Duke look, Duke / Airborne look, and this should really kind of go sort of like this somehow. Let's see, how do we want to do this? And I will be playing with this for weeks, trying to figure out the exact look I want. So, like something like that could work. I don't know that I love that. And also, the shovel is clearly designed to go in the backpack, so I think that's where it needs to go. Or at least I think it was clearly designed to go in there. I don't know how you get it back out once you've gotten it in. Ooh, maybe it wasn't. I mean, that shape looks right, but I don't know that does go in there. So, maybe that's for the canteen. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it any further, because I don't want to get anything jammed in there and then not be able to get it back out. All right. I just spent way too much time on tactical shovel. Oh, look at this. So that, I guess we need to get our grenade launcher back out. Got a bipod that is modular and will slide into place. That is awesome. I gotta think that maybe stores in the backpack or on the side potentially. Although I'd be afraid of putting too much stress on this in any other configuration. What? I'm going to pull this backpack off of him. We're going to get this figured out. Now you can see how everything like fits. It's all, nothing like sort of hangs out or looks too loose or whatever. Okay, let's see. Okay, that pops off. Nope. No, it doesn't. Well, okay, it does. It was not designed to. This is the same issue I had with Roadblock. Well, no, it's not, because this, you can see this piece is where this attaches. So all I have to do is glue this back on. This is not a huge deal. Roadblock, I actually broke his backpack because it was so dainty and delicate. It's funny how I mentioned like, oh, so it doesn't stress the plastic. And then it pops right off. But there you go. So that goes right back on. Just a little dab of glue. And actually this is going to make this a lot easier to deal with, because now we can see inside there better. and perhaps figure out. See, doesn't that really look like it's shovel shaped? But that is as far in as that shovel goes. It definitely doesn't go that way. All right, let's keep going and we'll come back to the backpack and see if anything else makes sense there. All right. So this is actually would be the primary weapon. Look at that detail. That's crazy. Hang on. Looks great. This is the kind of thing where people are like, yeah, this is what classified should look like. Well, classified would cost, $85 to $100 if everything looked like this. Because that's how things work. If you want this kind of detail and functionality and massive accessory loadout, mass market toy lines are not where you're going to get it. Also got an additional magazine. And then all of the little teeny tiny stuff that, again, is always just waiting to explode all over the workbench. Okay. First up, we have got a holster. Oh, that is interesting. It is so common for 112 stuff to have those thigh holsters, but this is a hip holster that just hooks right over the belt there. Look at the detail on this thing. Trying to move my light around a little bit. Unbelievable. And then we've got a all right. We're dumping it. Had to be done. Look at this teeny tiny stuff. It's crazy. I've got a hand blaster with, yes. And there's an extra. And those blast effects will also work here. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I forgot Mezco does that. Look at that. Wild. So that we're going to put right in that holster. Maybe if my giant fingers can get the job done. There we go. All right. This is what I'm talking about with classified. This kind of thing drives me crazy. But with, with these 112 collective figures, it's just part of the deal. It's how it is. There's the sheath that will go on the other side. maybe. There we go. Oh, man. Yeah, I wasn't too sure about the clipping on. That's going to require a little more. Oh, actually, I think I'm moving the belt. Yep, it did. The pants pushed it off. It's actually pretty secure on there. But when you move it around, the seam of the pants will push it up. So just something to be conscious of as you are posing and playing with your figure. How the heck is that going to work? Okay, so here is the survival knife. Looks great. Got a nice metallic black blade, but I do not see how this knife, because if you can see the sheath here, you've got the loop. How is that going to work? Let's pull that off and that there's no way. This doesn't. Oh my gosh, that is nuts. That actually slides into place. That's crazy. So I guess I'll say, just if you're dealing, and I probably should have learned this lesson years ago. If you're dealing with a 112 figure, 112 collective figure, just have some tweezers ready, because you're going to be dealing with things that your gigantic clumsy mitts are not equipped to deal with. So I don't know if you can even see it, but there's actually that little piece slides home. I think, yeah, I did. I just got it. That's nuts. All right. So we've seen how those work. I'm going to leave those off for right now. Oh, cool. You've got a forward grip. I don't know if there's a specific term for that. That slides into place on that. So we are absolutely going to just leave that on there because it's cool. Walkie-talkie. I don't think there's anything that's going to fit in that little tiny pocket. I was incorrect. Not the first time it's happened. It certainly won't be the last. And I definitely don't see, again, tweezers. Like, that's the only answer right here. So I'm just going to leave that flap open for now, and we'll mess with it later. But yeah, nothing is fitting in that pocket. There's nothing that tiny. Not even the magazine for the pistol. Where did it go? Is that small? I might have inhaled it. Oh, there we go. Oh, maybe? Yeah, maybe that will fit in there. Oh my gosh. No, it doesn't. It does not. It's close, but no cigar. All right. So we saw the magazine for the blaster, the hand blaster, walkie-talkie, grenades of different kinds, some canisters, and some lemons, I guess, more traditional ones. And actually, let's stick a couple of those back here. And I guess either one will fit. Is that? Yeah, that's in there pretty securely. Throw a canister in there just for fun, just to see. Yeah, they just kind of seat right in that little loop. That's cool. That pops off for absolutely no reason. It's in the instructions. It says pouch is removable. I don't need that to be a feature, really. I'm still surprised that this, because this is clearly for the hand blaster, that this is just sculpted in. And is not a functional little pouch type thing. And we're almost done. We have a suppressor. That will go on that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you, weapon enthusiasts, I'll say, is that a suppressor? When it's on a piece like this, is that a suppressor or is that something else? I don't know. I am not an enthusiast in that way, other than like, oh, it's a cool looking weapon. Like that's the extent of my involvement. That does look more complete with that. All right, I'm going to do a little pause, get this backpack loaded up, and wrap this thing up. Oh, almost forgot his scarf, which I'm not using. It's fine that they included it. I know a lot of the military collectors are big fans of scarves, much like my mother. But, so cool camo pattern. I like the uniqueness of that camouflage. And there's a wire on either side, so you can kind of pose it around him, like put it on his neck and do whatever you want with it. But yeah, I won't be using that. It's cool. It's well done, but not my thing. Okay, that took some doing. So I Gorilla Glued this top flap back on. The only thing that fits in the backpack is the extra magazine for the grenade launcher. It looks like it's shaped, like contoured specifically for that shovel, but I could not get it in there. The elastic is pretty darn stretchy. You can see I got the canteen on here, although the G.I. Joe is covered up, but there's nowhere else to store it, and I do like the canteen. I put the walkie-talkie over on this side, works really well. And then the shovel, again, kind of reminiscent of the original design. Oh, and the bedroll, less of a hassle than I thought, because really, if you just hold the little plastic clip right here and pull, this comes, just don't pull this through the clip. My gosh, what a nightmare. But it's pretty easy to adjust. Even I use tweezers, but I think my big dumb fingers could have done it if I had realized the way it worked a little sooner. So I think that's how I'm going to have the backpack loaded out. And that's that. I'm going to get him geared up, take my thumbnail picture of however he's going to look. But another absolutely incredible release from Mezco. The attention to detail just at this scale is crazy. if you want a figure that is a little challenging, but also tons of fun just to mess around with, get yourself a 112 collected figure. Find a character you love and you're willing to spend the, you know, 80 to 100 bucks or whatever on, or just watch some of the reviews here. I've reviewed a lot of these figures over the years, and as I said, I think these are the highest quality action figures on the market. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about Needless Things, and until next time, buy what you like.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.